everybody. This is TK Kugler. I am the managing partner, co-founder of Wasabi Ventures Sports. And today we are excited for our fan club having a session with the Lafayette Aviators on-field manager for 2022, Chris Willsey. I even butchered the last name there. Chris Willsey. And Chris has been thankfully has joined us tonight. We're going to have a little session and talk about what it's like to be the manager of the Aviators. So thanks for coming, Chris.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you guys for having me.
So Chris, let's start off with something real simple. Tell everybody a little bit about, where you live, what your normal day job is. How did you end up with the Aviators?
So I live in Carterville, Illinois. It's a small town of about 6,000 people. Originally from Harrisburg, Illinois, which is about 35 minutes from Carterville. Another small Southern Illinois town of about 9,000 people. Got my first gig into the college scene a couple years ago at Southeastern Illinois Community College, which is just outside of Harrisburg, Illinois. Now I'm the new hitting coach and recruiting coordinator at Kaskaskia Community College, which is in the same conference, but about an hour north of Carterville. So very excited about that opportunity. As far as the Aviators, back in the fall, it was probably mid-September, just scrolling through Twitter, and I still had not had a summer job for this summer. And usually about that time of year, every year, your junior college, your NAIA coach, assistant coaches are looking for summer jobs. And I had knew the field manager from last year in Lafayette. I basically just shot him a direct message and said, "Hey, is Lafayette needing a field manager for next year?" Because he had told me he was not coming back. So next thing you know, had a phone call with David. And here we are now. So it was a long process as far as just setting up times to talk with David, talk with Bill, talking with other applicants for the job. But I'm very fortunate that I was the guy that they chose, and here we are now. So I can tell you all that we are very excited about the group that we have coming in. The thing I personally love about the group that we have is we only have, I think, as of right now, we only have 2 guys on the roster that played their very first year of college baseball this year. So a lot of guys have been at the collegiate level for 2, 3, 4 years. I mean, we have 3 guys right now that are looking to sign pro contracts after us. So as far as experience, I think this group will make my job a lot easier. There's not going to be a lot of worry about stuff off the field with some of these guys. Personally, I've coached a lot of these guys and coached against some of these guys, so I know how they play. I've watched them play many of times, so I think that's, for me personally, that's the thing I'm most excited for about this group.
Chris, listening to you, lots of questions bubbled up in my mind, but I'll start with one a little bit around the players themselves. How active were you in the recruiting process of the players, the selection process? What was your involvement level in that process with David and the rest of the team?
Usually in summer ball, if colleges don't already assign guys to go to somewhere, we will reach out to schools. Now, me personally, I was fortunate I've coached some of these guys before, and I just instantly shot them a message and saying, "Hey, this is where I'm at. Would you like to come play?" Same way with the college coaches. Excuse me. Just call the college coaches saying, "Hey, I need 2 pitchers and an outfielder, or 2 pitchers and a catcher." Generally that's how it works. A lot of schools will never send just one guy. They want to make sure to get 2 guys from the same school to go to summer ball, just to have, especially with with guys coming all over the country, they want to at least have somebody there that they know, they don't feel homesick, or they know someone there. But yeah, that's generally how the finding players work. I think right now with this roster, there was probably only three, maybe four guys that I did not personally bring in. They had already been sent to Bill or David, and a lot of the five guys are from last year, so I didn't have to reach out to those guys. They already said, "Hey, we had a great summer last summer. Unfortunately, we didn't win the whole thing last summer, but we want to come back." So that's always nice to know that the key pieces from that group of last summer wants to come back. That definitely makes me feel better. And that's the beauty of the Lafayette Aviators and Loeb Stadium, is that there's guys want to come back. There's guys from around the league that played against Lafayette. They want to come to play for us. So that's as far as recruiting, Loeb Stadium is by far the number one recruiting tool. For an organization that's not in the Cape Cod or the Northwoods or the Coastal Plains League, that venue is one of the best venues in the entire country. Me personally, I scout for the Braves, and that stadium is better than probably at least 70% of AA stadiums. So for college kids to play 30 some odd games on an all turf stadium and get your own clubhouse, as a former player, I don't know how I could not go play in that kind of venue. So we're fortunate to get some high level talented players, mainly just because of Loeb Stadium.
So which is a great question, and I was going to ask you at some point, but since you brought it up, you've obviously visited Loeb and been there. Okay. So did you, and I don't, and it's an interesting segue, and you since you covered it, have you actually been on the field? Did you coach last year at it?
So last summer I was in a smaller league, the Ohio Valley League. But I watched many games up there. A former player of SIC was playing in Terre Haute. So
the arch rival.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping he was going back to Terre Haute just to give him a hard time during games, but sadly he's not. But so I kept up with him throughout the summer, and so I got to see him play, got to see the stadium. Back a few months ago, there was a rainy day in this area, and I called David. I said, "Hey, can I have the login for the Prospect League TV? I got nothing to do today." So I've ever since then, I've went back and watched some games from last summer, and just especially to see the guys that we have returning, just see how they play. So yeah, I've actually, I went up in December for the open house. Which was actually my birthday weekend. So that was kind of my birthday present to myself, was to go see Loeb Stadium. So I got to kind of tour that a little bit, go see the clubhouse, hang out with David all day, the whole 9 yards.
So backtracking a little bit, tell us a little bit about your playing career. How did you make the decision, hey, I want to go be on the coaching side? I mean, how did that go in your life? What was the arc there?
So when I tell you guys about my playing career, you're going to think, what the heck? How does this guy coach college baseball? So out of high school, I walked on at SIC, was an undersized, not very athletic player, not very toolsy guy, but just very, very competitive enough to keep me playing. Had an incident in the fall where I played a charity slow pitch softball tournament, and I was unaware that was a team rule, that players could not play slow pitch softball. So the head coach found out I was playing and kicked me off the team, which that, as an 18-year-old kid, that was never fun to hear, that, oh, hey, your playing career is basically over. So after that, I continued my schooling. There's a facility training academy about 20 minutes from me that was probably the most well-known facility in the area. Got on with there, starting doing lessons and working with little kids, and and then next thing you know, I started coaching youth. Started coaching 15U baseball, which was because coaching 9U baseball, I did that one time, and you coach 9-year-olds for a weekend. That was a very eye-opening experience for me. But I was fortunate enough growing up. I had very good coaches. I played at a high school program that's one of the most respected programs in the entire state of Illinois, mainly because of the head coach that is still there to this day. After 40 some odd years, he's still coaching, but he made a very good impact on me, and he's one of the reasons why I'm coaching today. So once I got into doing lessons after 2-3 years, there's another JUCO in the same conference, Frontier Community College, which is actually, we have a player coming from there. It's in Fairfield, Illinois. They had just started their program. It was fall of 2016. They were pretty bad, but I still had 2 years of eligibility under my son. And I was like, you know what? I want to go have fun, get my schooling done, and just go play. Just be done with it, move on. So I got up there fall of 2017, and that summer we had got a new head coach from a junior college in Texas. And if any of you guys know junior college baseball in Texas, it's no walk in the park. Which he had also was out of high school. That coach was a former military. So after about 2 weeks into the fall, we never called him coach. We either called him warden or drill sergeant, because that's how he basically ran his practices. So after that, he had brought in some players that he brought with him from Texas schools. And I was undersized still, and the guys he had brought in were just better than me. And that fall, we had our fall exit meetings in late October. He called me in and he's like, I'm going to tell you something that no guy ever wants to hear. You cannot play at this level. Oh, great. Thanks. But he's like, but I want to keep you around because you're a very good teammate and you're going to make a really good coach someday. Oh, okay. Thanks. Still, you told me I'm not going to play anymore. So that's another pillar of why I'm coaching today. And then, so following that, I tried to find a new school after that to go transfer to, and there wasn't a school close enough to where I could just go play at. The closest school that I had a chance to play was all the way up in Iowa. And baseball in Iowa in February is not very fun. So at that point, I knew I wasn't going to be a Division I player. I knew I wasn't going to be a pro guy. I'm not going to make it to the big leagues as a player. It's time to hang it up and get back into coaching. So after that, I got back into the travel high school scene, did travel ball, got on with an organization out of Chicago, top tier baseball. Coached with them, just did some networking throughout there. And then here we are, got my first gig into the college scene, the COVID year, which that was a very exciting experience to deal with. So my first real summer coaching job, there was the league still goes on. It's up at Graham Park in Westfield, Indiana. Summer of 2020 was their first summer as a league. It was a fun league. We only played 2 days a week. They put this league on like 2 weeks before it started because of with how COVID it was, and with how other leagues in the country didn't know if they were going to play or not. So when all the leagues in the country canceled, here it is, May 15th, they start this league, which was a good experience. Got to coach some really good players. Three guys that are with us now were in that league the very first year it started. So that was my first real summer collegiate league job, was the Grand Park Collegiate League. And then last summer I was in Madisonville, Kentucky for the Ohio Valley League. So that's kind of been my up to date, start to finish, or start to current coaching playing career.
So
Well, that's a lot to take in. So
yeah, no, it's good. That was a wonderful background. I love hearing the arc of people's lives. Honestly, I find it very engaging. You talked in there a little bit about, that moment where you realized you weren't going to be a player at the level that you wanted to be anymore. And I think, speaking, I don't want to speak for, I know some of the people on this call, we had that conversation. Somebody had that conversation with us at some point too. Yeah. How did you, what, if you weren't going to go down the coaching path, what was going to be your career path? What were you going to go do with your life? And you're still a young man. So,
yeah,
but
I'll be 28 this year. So
yeah.
Honestly, I'm kind of glad you asked that, because I've never really thought about that. Probably what I would have done if I couldn't coach or play. At the time, our stable was getting pretty high. We had, for a small stable, home family horse racing people, the most we had was probably 4 or 5 ever. But this, in summer of 16 and summer of 2018, we had a couple clients that lived close to us that wanted to get into horse racing as well. So we ended up, in summer of 16 and 18, we had half of a barn at Ellis Park, which was that was awesome. Now, when the money started getting good in Kentucky at Ellis, our level of horses had absolutely no business running at Ellis Park. That was basically a training track for us. Summer of 16, we ran just about every weekend up at Belterra Park. That was our level of talent for horses. We still ran a couple at Ellis just so they could stop, excuse my French, stop bitching about us not running there. So we ran there a little bit. But yeah, honestly, I would say if I couldn't have a baseball career, probably stick into the horse racing game. I know summer of 2016, I was studying to be an assistant trainer. And then the whole Frontier, that whole ordeal started up. So I took time away from that just because my stepdad was starting to get a little older. He needed more help. So I wanted to really take off into the training world, but here we are. So I would say being in the horse racing game.
That's wild, man. That's wild stuff. That's what I would say.
And as when I was 16, you just never really saw a kid go from a baseball game, leave the bus and not ride back from the team because you had to go catch your horse race up at Fairmount Park. So
yeah,
you never really saw a 16-year-old kid do that.
Yeah. So it's for those of you who probably are shocked and didn't realize, just by happenstance, Chris is also in the horse racing world. So even though he's the manager at the Aviators, so a lot of intersection there. This is karma. This is what it's supposed to be. So if there's ever a Friday or Saturday that we end up getting rained out or not playing, you'll probably see me down at Horseshoe, Indianapolis, watching races. I have to say that it's not Indiana Grand anymore. No, you can't. It's not Indiana Grand. So I just did a quick lookup. I know we are 2 for 2 at Wasabi Ventures in the history of running at Ellis Park. We've run twice and we've won twice at Ellis. So not too many races there, but we're 2 for 2. So so Chris, talk to me a little bit. Let's jump into the Aviators, and obviously had a great season last year.
Yeah,
expecting a good season this year. How do you, going into the season, and I've really wondered this, how do you balance, because you got a group of guys where they're thinking about their future, right, and this summer is maybe less about the team at some point in their brain and more about them. How do you balance managing a team where the real goal is to show off talent? How do you do that as the manager?
I think the good part for us is we have 60 games in 67 days. So now, I mean, there's it's summer baseball. Some of our guys have already played probably 40, 50 games this spring. So as far as playing 60 games, I don't see us having the same roster we have right now. I see probably half of that team maybe leaving in the second half of the summer just because they need a break. They've played all spring. They're going to do all this traveling in the summer. I personally had two pitchers text me this week saying that they're going to shut down in the second half just so they can rest.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as what you asked, the good part about us is, like I said, 60 games. There's going to be multiple opportunities for guys to get reps, guys to there's the beauty of summer ball. It's more of for guys that don't need reps. It's more of a IQ learning time as far as getting smarter, learning, understanding more what has happened. Because like for instance, Danville, who's in our division, they're known for getting high level top 25 program school kids. The problem with some of that stuff is a lot of those guys are freshmen or redshirt freshmen, guys that just hadn't played all spring. They need to play.
Yep.
But the good part for us is we're old. We're it's funny, we're the oldest team in the league with the youngest coaching staff in the league. So it's going to be kind of interesting. But the beauty of summer ball is it's a good opportunity for groups like us, in our particular case, that we get to know a little bit more of what we're trying to do as far as learning situations, because even though they may not know everything, there's still something to learn and get better at, even as old as this group is. But to answer your question, it's really just all about getting guys reps, getting more opportunities. Because like I said, 60 games in 67 days plus a postseason, you may see some crazy lineups throughout the summer, but that's just, that is just to see what maybe something a guy can or cannot do.
Yep.
I know there's probably 6 position players that can play multiple different positions. So throughout this summer, we're going to be moving guys around, playing this guy here, this guy there, moving this guy up and down in the lineup just to really see what they can do.
Mm-hmm. How do you, and I was really intrigued by this because I was thinking about pitchers, especially, because obviously, do you hear from their either college coaches or pitching coaches and say, listen, I only want, I'm looking for this many innings.
Yes. Yeah.
How does that work for
me
you?
Personally? I've told kids and I've told college coaches, for as long as I coach in summer ball, my biggest goal for summer ball and pitchers, or any player for that matter, I would rather lose a game than get a kid hurt and send him back to his school hurt. That's all because all it takes is one injury to burn that bridge with that school, that coach, that player. That's the very first thing I ask college coaches. Hey, how much do you want him to throw? Like there's one kid that's coming from Olney Central Community College. The very first instant he said he's coming, I called their head coach because he's committed to SIU, Carbondale. And the very first thing I asked him was, how much do you want him to throw? Because he is one of the top 3 arms at Olney Central College. So he's going to throw every single weekend. He's going to throw 6-7 innings every single weekend at the school he's at now. So, you think about 10, 11 starts, that's close to 60 innings in the spring. So at that point, it's just, okay, how much do you want him to throw? And that kid in particular, I coached against him last summer, and that poor kid, he threw a lot in the spring and got ran into the ground in the summer and just never got a break. And that's just, to me, that's something I kind of take pride in. I'm never gonna send a kid back to a school hurt. I'd rather lose a game than send a kid back hurt, because really at the end of the day, that's not the goal of summer baseball.
Mhm.
Summer baseball is just get guys out there, get reps, develop more, especially for a team that may have a younger group that needs to develop, needs to get in-game reps. So as far as pitching wise, that's the very first thing we really try to do is to see where a pitcher's at as far as how many innings they need to throw, what role do they want to play, do they want to be a starter, do they want to be a bullpen. With us particularly, we're having a 6-man rotation, because like with our schedule format, playing 12 games in a row before an off day that's a lot of innings. So and the beauty of the prospect league is there's a pitch count limit. So I know our pitching coach, he'll do a really good job of finding guys, see where they're at, seeing what roles he wants them to pitch in, and then go from there.
Super.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, go ahead, Cap.
are we allowed to ask questions? Or?
Yeah. I've been taking them on the chat, but
I missed it. I'm sorry.
Cap jumps in. Go ahead, Cap.
My bad. I was just thinking about Coach there. And one of the things that I love about minor league baseball, I mean, is the fun aspects of it. You get to see different plays, exciting plays. And as you were talking about the requirements, kind of the needs of the kids and getting them developed and such, I was thinking, how much does that affect your coaching style, Coach? And
that's
what you really want to be able to do, and I don't know what your coaching style is, so maybe that would be kind of interesting to hear what you like to do. I mean, are you the type of coach that likes the 1-0 game or the 12-11 game, and given your age and everything, I thought it'd be kind of interesting to hear that. And then how this, the demands of the kids' development affects what you're going to have to do this season. So,
right. So,
and I promise I'll use the chat after this.
That's 2 really good questions. So even as young as I am, I've been influenced by a lot of old-fashioned coaches. My high school coach, he's 60-something years old. The former SIU coach who just got his jersey retired a couple weeks ago, I've learned from him a lot. So even though I'm a young guy, I learned my old freshman basketball coach told me way long time ago, a win is a win, no matter how ugly it is. So if we have to win a 1-0 ball game by hit, bunt, sack fly, whatever, I don't care. Now, also at the same time, as old as this group is and as athletic as this group is, I think we're going to be very, very aggressive on the base pass. I think we're going to steal a lot of bases. We're going to be able to run. So
double steals, triple steals.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're going to throw the whole ballpark at them. Like they're going to be surprised. So cool. That's kind of what another thing that I'm excited for is just how athletic this group is. So if we have to win a 1-0 ball game by playing it the old fashioned way, bunt them over, especially if it's the game to clinch a playoff spot, then that's when it becomes a spring postseason setting game. Now, for the most part, a lot of your summer games and like, your random July 12th game, that's when it's just kind of you're feeling like it's a big league game. Like it's just a laid back kind of setting. But in those close 1-0 ball games late in the summer, that's when we have to play baseball. That's when we have to actually go out and situational stuff, do all that kind of stuff. To answer the second question, the good part about summer ball is I in the two summers that I've so far been a part of summer baseball, you want to do early work before BP. So like what we did last summer, and we're going to do it last summer or this summer too. We would show up if a game was at 6, well, our time, 6:30, we would show up at 3:00, and we would pitchers would be on their own, because you don't know if maybe guys are throwing bullpens or doing pitcher stuff. But as far as positional guys, we had the head coach and 2 assistants. So me and the head coach, we would take the infielders and outfielders, and then one would do one with the other. Catchers would be in the locker room hitting. We had a cage in the locker room, so they would be getting their front toss, their tees for 20-30 minutes, while me and the head coach, we'd work with outfielders, infielders, just do drills, get them outside, moving around. We wouldn't really do a lot of throwing and stuff, just because it's summer. Their arms are already going to be somewhat loose. But we did a lot of just footwork drills. What else did we do? We did a lot of like fly ball wise. We did a lot of first step stuff. Just little stuff to help them just get a little bit better each day. And then at 4:00 we'd take BP. So we'd get them there a little hour early, just to get their bodies moving, because we'd get back after a game at 11:00 the night before. They're going to sleep in till probably 2:30. So get them out of bed probably about 2:30, and then get them to the field, get them moving around, just something like that. And really at the end of the day, though, I mean, we ended up doing that because we did it we did it one time and we won like 2 games in a row. So we were very superstitious. We just, hey, can't fix what's not broken. So, but guys were also just, their arms are starting to get a little sore, just doing a lot of throwing, playing every day. So we may start out the summer. Especially if we have a whole new group in July, which I wouldn't be surprised if we did. Yep. But just little stuff like that, just to help them, get them a little bit better in something that they may see that as their weakness. And that's something that when we report on the 29th, I know the pitchers are going to give the pitching coach on just goals that they want to get better at. Me and the other 2 hitting coaches, we're gonna sit down with position players and just see what their weaknesses are, what do they want to get better at throughout the summer, because really, in all reality, that's really the purpose of summer ball, is to develop and get guys better. Now, at the end of the day, when we get into playoffs, then that's when it becomes college baseball spring season mode. We're going to play like we're in Omaha. So, yeah, those are 2 really good questions.
Yeah, you actually brought up some other ones that are from folks in the chat session, and I'll incorporate those in. And you alluded to the report day, the 29th. So is that your first time where you'll have all of the players together all at the same time?
So I put in our group chat the other night that if any of you think you're going to be late to report date because of your schools and postseason play, please let me know now, because then we can find temp players for until you can get here. Because I know there's one guy at IU Southeast that they think they're going to go to the national tournament. There's an outfielder from Lee University that he thinks his school is going to make a pretty good D2 run. We have 2 guys from Wabash Valley Community College, who's number 2 in the country right now. If they win 3 games this week, they go to the College World Series, which is that weekend that we report. So there's going to be a chance that when we report on the 29th, we're going to be missing some guys. But yeah, May 29th is the very first day we all meet up at Loeb Stadium at 5:00.
Gotcha. And it's interesting, talking to you, that you'll lose half the team. Are you actively thinking about players that you'll be bringing in the second half already, or how do you think about that?
Kind of, yeah. You kind of already get some feelers out with some schools, and like and that's part of the recruiting process is back in, early fall. Like some schools, I talked to a Power 5 school the other night. They're still kind of deciding on some players that they don't know if they're going to send out for the summer just because they played all spring and they need a break. You kind of do because you kind of want to already have something lined up because here it is, say June 25th, we got guys going home and we don't have players to replace them. Now we're in big trouble because now we just don't have a plan. We don't have players yet. But I told it in our group chat the other night to the players. In summer ball, really in all reality, the best recruiters are the players. And what I mean by that is a lot of the group that we have right now is player recommended by players. So we have one guy, he's actually a returner, Jackson. He's recommended. We've got 4 guys on this roster recommended by him. So in summer ball, it's because it's hard to reach out to kids personally if you don't have their phone number or Twitter. So really in summer ball, your best recruiters are your players. So when that instant comes, one thing we'll tell the team is, hey, if you know any of your school buddies or your school teammates or just your buddies from back home, somebody, if you know somebody that could play to our level and need somewhere to play, please have them reach out to me. But right now we've already got some guys lined up because really right now the most need that we need for the second half of the summer is pitchers. So because a lot of like I said earlier, we've already got 3 guys that's going to shut down at the end of June because they threw a lot in the spring. So we've already kind of looked out for a few pitchers for the month of July.
It's got to be very interesting to manage and coach in this setting. I as a former coach, I would think it's very interesting to think about that. Question, and are any of these players, are all of these players current college players, or are there any like graduating high school players who are going to get roped into this?
No, we don't have any high school guys because, and it's kind of tough for a high school guy to come into this current group that we have. But a lot of times, and me and our pitching coach, we agreed it's hard to get, unless it's just a super high talented like Power 5 commit guy. It's hard for a high school kid to come in and go from his high school baseball setting to top level collegiate base. Just the game, the speed of the game is just so hard to adjust to, unless it's a kid committed to Vanderbilt or Texas or wherever. So we don't really, we're not really looking to bring in a high school senior. Now I've coached kids through top tier that are committed to Power 5 programs, and if they need a place to play this summer and something opens up, I'm not going to say no. So, but if that comes up, great. But right now we don't really get high school seniors just because it is so hard to get kids to just change to the game of speed. So
that makes perfect sense. I mean, and it is pretty amazing the jump from,
and that's what I love about coaching junior college, and not to be biased about junior college, but junior college baseball junior college sports will always be the way to go, because it is, unless you're just a high level talented athlete that's committed to wherever big Power 5 school, it's hard to go into a college setting and be ready to play. And especially now with COVID, with giving guys their year back, recruit, roster sizes. So junior college will always be the way to go as far as game of speed change.
Makes perfect sense. Switching gears on you. Great question coming from Matt Baker. What's your favorite baseball memory? And either you as a fan or as a player or as a coach, what's that favorite memory for you?
Man, that is a very good question.
Who are you? Well, I'll give you a simpler question to start with. Who's your team today? Because you don't live necessarily right near a major league team. So who's the team you root for?
I partially have to root for the Braves because I work for them. If I don't, my area guy will fire me, which is funny because my area guy is also from Harrisburg, so I've known him for years. But I live 2 hours from Busch Stadium, so I've just die hard St. Louis Cardinals. You know, people give me hard time all the time because I live in Illinois. Why are you not a Cubs White Sox fan? Well, Busch Stadium's 2 hours away. It's a little closer drive to go catch a big league game. But growing up watching Cardinals games, going to Busch Stadium, just not to be biased, but man, a baseball game at Busch Stadium is an unbelievable experience. Just because, to me, it feels like compared to all the other stadiums that I've been to, it feels more smaller and compact, which just makes it such a better atmosphere. So yeah, I've always been a Cardinals fan. Now I'm partially a Braves fan. I kind of have to be to keep my scouting job. But favorite baseball memory, man. Sadly I was not at the game, but I remember seeing the Game 6, 2011. David Freese hit the triple and then the home run. And then in 2014 when the late Oscar Taveras hit the home run to tie it in the 8th. I remember it was funny because my mother and I went to Buffalo Wild Wings that night, and we stayed for that entire game on a school night. And she's a teacher, so staying at Buffalo Wild Wings at 11 o'clock at night to watch a baseball game is pretty dedicated on her end.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I think probably just my favorite memory was my senior year, just playing with those guys, just one last, because all four of us, we were committed to different schools. Mm-hmm. And one was my best friend still today. He went on to play at the University of Illinois. And so going to see him play after that too was pretty special too, but probably just my senior year, getting to play with those guys, your best friends that you've been around for 18 years, playing with them and seeing them for the last time for a while was pretty special.
Yeah, that is. You mentioned the Braves. I don't know if you know it or not, but Brian Cox, the former Braves player, he's in our ownership group.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So Brian, Brian, Brian's talking about coming out and like doing a session at one of the games this year. So you might run into Brian this summer is the short answer. Yeah. So who's your favorite player playing currently in the bigs?
Seeing Acuna healthy now is pretty special. I'm glad to see him back healthy. As far as current players, it's hard not to say Mike Trout, but probably my favorite player is Cody Bellinger. I just being a hitting guy and just his swing is you can't teach a 14-year-old kid his swing just because it's just you can't. But when that guy puts the barrel to the baseball and watching that swing is so pretty. He's just one of those top 5 players in baseball. You cannot teach that swing to a kid.
Is there any rule or aspect of college summer league baseball that you wish the major leagues adopted? Is there anything that happens in this league that you wish was in the major leagues?
Teams having cities closer to each other, probably go get to watch guys more.
Yeah.
No, that's tough. The 20-second rule, that's just, to me, it's hard. I'm not a big fan of, and we had a couple instances in the spring where guys got called box on because they were taking longer than 20 seconds. Now, we kind of had to get into that kid about those incidents. But at the same time, it's like they're big on pace of play, but then at the same time, the umpire is going to take however long in between innings, and they're going to umpires sometimes make it about themselves. But here we are with the 20-second rule, where a guy's got to get the ball delivered. By the time they pitch, catch, and pitch again, it's got to be in 20 seconds by the time they step on the rubber. That's just some guys, especially bullpen guys, bullpen pitchers, just their tempo slows the game down because they're not in the windup. They're constantly just looking to get the sign, little stuff like that. So bullpen guys always slow the game down. Mm-hmm. But for me personally, just being in the setting of a night game, especially at Loeb Stadium, just slow the game down because sometimes it's a little too much for a kid. Mm. But yeah, I think the 20-second rule is I've never really been a big fan of that. They've always just been trying to find ways to speed the game up, and I think the game was fine before the 3-batter rule, the 20-second rule. Just leave the game alone. It was great before then. Just leave it alone.
It's a crazy question, but I'm going to be really interested to see what you say. But if you could paint your own picture 5 years from now, your own personal story, what are you doing 5 years from now?
That's a tough question because I could either be a junior college head coach or I could have my own horse stable. One of those two things could happen. I would say right now, I would coaching junior college baseball is now that I've got into this level, I don't want to do anything else. Mm-hmm. And I've told a lot of people that obviously seeing kids mature, seeing them grow from a high school kid to an adult, basically, like junior college is just a different breed. One of the things I love about coaching junior college baseball is after a long day at the field on the weekend or wherever, when I go home, it's really cool to turn the TV on and turn a game on, a Power 5 school, SEC, ACC game, and see a kid that you've coached playing on TV. Like, to me, that's really cool. And it has nothing to do with making it about me or being a me guy. Just knowing, hey, I know that kid, especially with my story of coming from a small town, never really had a great playing career. Obviously, didn't really work out too well. But for me, and knowing how hard I've worked and the networking I've had to do, because obviously as not a great player, I've had to work a little harder than some guys to get where I'm at. To turn on a game and see a kid that you've coached, whether it's through summer ball or the school you were at for 2 years, to see that kid play on TV is really cool. So as far as my 5-year plan, I hope I have a wife, children, other than my dog. I basically claim that as my kid. So hopefully I have a human kid by then. And just coaching junior college baseball and living the dream.
That's awesome. You obviously are familiar with the Savannah Bananas, right? And everybody is, right? And the crazy stuff they do. I want to get a perspective from you as an on the field guy who's trying to coach and he's trying to teach and he's trying to educate and he's mentor and all of those things. What's your reaction to the antics that are happening in the stands and around the game? How do you feel that? Because you feel like a baseball purist to me at some level, just listening to you. How do you think about that?
In some aspects of it, it's kind of funny, just because you just don't see that stuff on a baseball field. But also at the same time, it's like, man, just go play baseball. Like, you're on the field, play baseball. Me being an old-fashioned guy with like how the bat flipping and all this new age stuff. It's just like, man, come on, we're getting away from the aspects of baseball. It's just some of the stuff is kind of cool to see. It was a kid I had last summer, late in the summer. He was supposed to go there. There was something weird happened. He was supposed to go there last summer. Something didn't work out, but he was supposed to be with the Savannah Bananas last summer. We ended up getting him late in the summer. But it's some of their stuff that they do. It's quite comical, just because you don't see that every day. Like wearing kilts for pants, like that's pretty funny. I'm not going to give David any ideas on an Irish night or something, but yeah, to me, it's just a lot of the stuff they do. It's just a lot of eyewash, and it's like, man, just go play baseball.
Yep. I had a gut feeling that was going to be your answer. What's one thing that you hope each player takes away from the experience this summer with you and the team? What's the big thing? If every coach has that one big thing. What's that one big thing for you?
That with my personality, and a lot of these guys already know it because they've played for me. I'm definitely a player's coach. I'm always that guy that they can turn to for just to vent or whatever it is. If there's anything that a guy takes away from me this summer, is that they're always going to have a former coach. Well, now, I mean, obviously I'll say former coach, but after we're done, they're always going to have a former coach who would do everything in his power for him. Whether that's off the field, on the field, get networking, help. I hope and pray every one of these guys puts me down as a reference for a job application or a coaching job, or whatever it may be. I hope and pray that after we're done this summer, one, that these guys leave better than what they were when they came here. And I'll mention it too when we have our first team meeting, that we have guaranteed 60 games this summer. That's 60 opportunities to get 1% better. So if they only get 1% better by the time they get there to the time they leave, I've done my job. I've gotten them better at least 1% than what they were when they showed up. But ultimately, I hope that they know when they leave that they're going to be a better man, a better player, and that they're always going to have somebody in their phone to call for anything out on and off the field.
If you can get that across and get that, then that's more than you could ever ask for as a coach, candidly.
Because and really, in all reality, that's why we're doing it.
Right.
Like at that point, it's like a full circle of life. Like you're instilling in players that you've coached what your former coaches instilled in you as a player, as far as being a human being, a husband, father, all that stuff down the road. That's really why I still do it, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's financially, it's been pretty tough on me to be a volunteer coach. But I don't know if you guys know, but volunteer coaches don't make a lot of money through coaching. So it's been very hard on me the last couple of years financially to coach. So there's been opportunities for me to get out of spring season coaching. But there's been opportunities for me to stop coaching, but I couldn't turn this gig down, and I can tell you we're all very excited for it.
Awesome. Well, Chris, I really appreciate you taking the time tonight, and that was a beautiful place to end the call to tonight. I'll speak for all of the people on the call. I'm really excited to meet you. A bunch of us who were on this call are going to be there opening night. We got a whole suite. ready to go. We're in one of the boxes. It's going to be fun times, and probably see you a couple times this year. So we're
any more questions. I got nothing else to do.
Yeah. But thanks for the time, and can't wait to meet you in person.
Absolutely. It'll be here before you guys know it.
Yep. 2 weeks, man. 2 weeks. So, all right, my friend, enjoy. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.